Hi, today from Panama. Behind me you can see Panama City, the skyline of the new part of Panama City. Today we will talk about optimism and pessimism. See you in the next part. Optimism and pessimism. What way to go in business, what way to go in life? I will quote here Tim Draper from my book, The $1 Billion Secret. Tim Draper is an American billionaire and a legendary VC investor. And he always says, you have the choice. You can be a pessimist or you can be an optimist in your life. But keep in mind, pessimists never achieve anything because they always find thousands of reasons why something wouldn't work. And everything that has ever been achieved has been achieved by optimists, because the optimists are the ones who, not always, but from time to time, once in a while, prove pessimists wrong. And they say, hello guys, this may actually work, and this actually works. A good example of optimism is Panama Canal that you can see behind me. Already in 16th century, shortly after the discovery of the Panama Schism, meaning the short distance between the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, here in Panama, by the Spanish explorer Balboa, the Caesar Karl V gave an order to dig a canal between the two oceans to shorten the way for the ships to come from the, let's say, from New York. No, at that time there was no New York, but to come from Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, because otherwise the ships would need to go around the South America and the Drake Passage. That is the most dangerous passage in the world, the most dangerous sea in the world. And of course it was a lot of time to save if you could use a channel. But it was 16th century. It was, let's say, technologically extremely difficult, and the Caesar Karl V, he had this idea and he was optimistic. He wanted to have this passage, and he gave an order to a commission, a scientific commission, to let's say research the viability of the project, the possibility of digging such a canal. And the scientists were unfortunately pessimists, and they said, impossible. It is technologically impossible to do. Roughly 200 years later, the French picked up the idea to dig the canal across Panama using some of the waterways that were there already, like the sea and so on and so on. But they encountered some technological problems, because they thought they would be able to dig the canal like the Suez Canal, meaning on the sea level. But the problem was there was actually an altitude of at least 30 meters to bridge the level differences in order to realize this project. And they didn't realize that, and they invested both $230 million, but it was in dollars of 1880 till 84 or 89, something like that, the end of 19th century. And they realized they will need to build locks along the way in order to bridge the different water levels. And they even engaged Mr. Eiffel, who also built the Eiffel Tower in Paris, in order to design and project the locks and to make it possible. But it ended up in a catastrophe because the French bureaucracy took over the pessimists, who then sentenced responsible people for the project, among them also Mr. Eiffel, for spending too much money, for failure, and also for the extremely high mortality rate. Because during the several years, 5 to 10 years, I don't remember how many years French were at the work there, over 20,000 workers died due to diseases, due to accidents during the construction, and so on and so on. But in the second instance, these people, the managers, could defend themselves and they didn't go to jail, but they were sentenced at first. And the company went bankrupt because the costs of the construction started to skyrocket, and another French company took over the, so to say, the assets of the first company, but they didn't manage the turnaround, and so they abandoned generally the project because they were pessimistic. They started to be pessimistic. They didn't believe they would be able to make it happen. And it needed the most optimistic nation in the world, the Americans, that took over in the beginning of 20th century, 1904. They started finishing this canal. They bought the assets, the remaining assets of the French company, I think for 40 million, that time dollars, so to say, and then bought the land from Panama at that time already, because before that they needed to strike a revolution, and Panamanians got independency from Colombia in order to be able to make the deal, because Colombia rejected the deal offered by Americans. So there is a lot of politics there also, but the Americans employed their army construction corps in order to build this channel, to finish this channel, and they invested altogether $350 million in 1940 or 1910, the dollars of the year 1910. So a huge, humongous amount of money at that time, and they finally make it happen. So the optimists needed here 4 centuries, generally 4 centuries, since 15 something to 1914, to convince the pessimists or to prove the pessimists wrong. 4 centuries. The idea needed 4 centuries to ripe. What were the fruits of the idea? When the waterway was envisioned, the Panama Canal, to go from New York to San Francisco, using the channel would save, there was no San Francisco, there was no New York, but from this area, would save 5 months in travel, and of course a lot of money. Today it saves 2 weeks of travel, and of course time, and it saves a lot of fuel. So an average fee to cross Panama Canal is $500,000. This is really big business for one ship. On average, $500,000. The fees depend on the size of the ship and also on the cargo that it carries. On average, more or less $500,000. The revenue of Panama Canal is $2 billion a year, and the profits are around $1 billion every year. So big, really big business, and this is 1/3 of Panama economy. So you see, if you have a great idea, if you are an optimist and you are able to realize this idea, then you can really make it really big. And optimism is, by the way, one of the 4 elements of the so-called boat that will navigate you through the storms of your business career. The 3 other elements you will find in my book, The $1 Billion Secret, that you can, I provide the link below, you can get it there. So be optimistic. Only optimists can achieve anything. Pessimists don't achieve anything. If you like this video, give me a thumb up. If not, of course, thumb down. Share this video with your loved ones, with your friends. One day they will thank you for that. I talk here a lot about doing great things in life, about doing impossible things, about achieving seemingly impossible goals. I talk here about how think and how act the best entrepreneurs in the world, our self-made billionaires. So if you like this video, you will certainly like my other videos. I invite you to watch them. That's it today from Panama. I wish you a fantastic day. Let's do something extraordinary today.